Thank you, Reverend, and thank you for your service. The House will come to order. Please join Representative Luck for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Shebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile, Bacon is excused. Baisley, Benavides, Burnett, Bird, Bockenfeld, Basenecker, Bradfield, Caraveo is excused. Carver, Catlin is excused. Cutter, Doherty, Duran, Esgar, Exum, Froelich, Geithner is excused. Gonzalez Gutierrez, Gray, Hanks,
Here.
Herod is excused. Holtorf, Hooten is excused. Judah, Kennedy, Kip, Larson, Lindsay, Lontine, Luck, Lynch, McCluskey is excused. McCormick, McKean, 63. McLaughlin, Michelson Janae is excused. Mullica is excused. Neville, Ortiz,
Here.
Pelton, Pico, Ransom. Rep. Ransom is excused. Oh, Rich is excused. Ricks is excused. Roberts, Sandridge, Sirota, Snyder, Soper.
That's right.
Soper is excused. Sullivan, Tipper. Rep. Tipper is excused. Tatone, Valdez A, Valdez D is excused. Van Beber is excused. Van Winkle, Weissman, Williams is excused. Woodrow, Woog, Young is here. Mr. Speaker is here.
With 52 present and 13 excused, we barely have a quorum. Representative Luck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Journal of Tuesday, March 8, 2022 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. And I'd also like to ask this question. Depending on today's vote, tomorrow could I ask for a roll call vote?
I don't want to set that precedent, Representative Luck, but I will consult with the chief clerk and get back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you all.
All right, so you guys have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. But the ayes clearly have it. The motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, that lovely prayer that we heard this morning by Reverend Bradley Larvig, I just want to also announce him because he's also DPS School Board Director for District 5, which is also in my district. And so if you could please just recognize Director Brad Larvig is also here in his other hat.
Representative Wantine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. The Health and Insurance Committee is meeting this afternoon, 1:30 in the Old State Library, also known as Room 271, where we will be hearing House Bill 1279. Thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. This is an announcement about today's work of the Judiciary Committee. We'll be in room 107. That's our room downstairs. We will hear bills in this order. The printed calendar got a bit out of sync. First bill up is 1131, back for action only. Then we'll start from the top and follow the printed order. That's House Bill 1224, Senate Bill 115, Senate Bill 50, Senate Bill 92, 130, room 107. Thank you.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, Education Committee. If you look on the calendar, that's exactly what we're doing today and tomorrow. So look forward to seeing you there. Bye-bye.
Representative D. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, please mark in your calendar, hopefully this weekend, in the San Luis Valley Crane Festival is happening this weekend in Monte Vista, so please come on down. And while you're there, go skiing at Wolf Creek Ski Resort. And one of the things, members, for all you Denver Broncos fans, let's welcome Russell Wilson as the new Bronco. Yeah.
Yeah, the deal is actually not done, but that's why it's important that we go to Representative Neville. And I will also join Representative Neville in this announcement.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Stealing some of our thunder, we had this plan, but we did want to, extend a warm welcome to Russell Wilson. I'm sure he's tuned in to the Colorado channel right now, watching us. And so, Mr. Speaker, if you have any more words, please.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Neville. And, it might make sense for the body if he hasn't waived the no trade clause in his contract by tomorrow, for us to maybe even do a resolution encouraging him to do so. But I haven't seen Broncos country this excited in a very, very, very long time. And I share everyone's enthusiasm in welcoming him here and urging him to waive that portion of his contract as soon as possible. Representative Neville.
Mr. Speaker, I will just add, too, if he's looking for real estate, Denver's a great place to play, but if you're looking for a great place to raise a family, Castle Rock, Castle Pines is a great place, close to Dove Valley, would suit a guy like Russell Wilson really nicely.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think that's exciting news. I think potentially even more exciting, I'm looking forward to hit musician Ciara moving to the state of to Denver in the state of Colorado, who I think actually outperforms her significant other in significant ways. So I look forward to welcoming both of them to the city of Denver.
Representative A. Valdez. You want me to get and people? If you could.
Good morning, everybody. Attention, all billionaires and gazillionaires. We also need an owner. The Denver Broncos do, but attention. Anyway, I have a couple of announcements. Energy and environment. We're meeting today. which is always fun. We'll be hearing 11:40. Upon adjournment, I will come in and tell you what time exactly we're going to meet. But for all of those amateur enviros in here, and I know there's bunches of you, there's one right there, folks. We are going to have a lunch and learn today. The National Caucus of Environmental Legislators is in town. They're hosting a lunch. I'm going to come back and remind you at the end, but please do come over. We're across the street in SSB at noon. So see you there.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we are meeting this today upon adjournment. We have one bill, House Bill 1230, on our agenda. A note about tomorrow's agenda, we've taken two of the bills off, so the only bill we'll hear tomorrow afternoon is 1121. Thank you.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Transportation and Local Government, this afternoon we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bills at 1:30, LSBA. Thank you.
Further announcements and introductions. Members, I think we have a tribute, if you don't mind directing your attention to the, well, Majority Leader, Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a tribute to the late Pat Teagarden, and I'd ask for it to be read.
Mr. Schiebel.
State of Colorado. The Senate and House of Representatives convened in the 73rd General Assembly hereby extend sincere condolences and expressions of sympathy to the Teagarden family on the passing of Pat Teagarden. Patrick, or Pat Teagarden, was born on September 1st, 1953 in Little Rock, Arkansas, and was raised in Bethesda, Maryland as the oldest of 4 children. Pat began a life of public service after earning his undergraduate degree and law degree from the University of Colorado. In addition to practicing law and working in real estate management, Pat served his community in many ways, including working with Congressman Tim Wirth, serving as Vice President of Colorado Affairs with the Denver Chamber of Commerce, and serving as Deputy Director of the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. In 2011, Pat joined the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment as the Director of Policy and Legislation. During his time working for the Department of Labor and Employment and at the Colorado General Assembly, Pat was known as one of the kindest, most honorable people working for the government of the state of Colorado. Pat passionately studied the Civil War and the history of Abraham Lincoln, and his heroes were President Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, and all who stood up for civil rights, justice, and equality. He was an avid Rockies fan as a season ticket holder. As a skier, he was once described as an elegant, unmade bed in blue jeans on the slopes. On February 4th, 2022, Pat passed away far too soon. For 32 years, Pat was a loving husband to his wife, Christine Ledding, and a loving father to his children, Leanne and Jade. The state of Colorado was blessed by the service of Pat, and he leaves a legacy that will make lives better for decades to come. The Colorado General Assembly honors the life and legacy of Pat Teagarden and his contributions to the state of Colorado and its citizens. On request of Representatives Matt Gray, Alec Garnett, Dinea Esgar, and Hugh McKean, and Senators Stephen Fenberg, Dominic Moreno, Chris Holbert, and Faith Winter, given this 9th day of March 2022, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado. Signed, Stephen Fenberg, President of the Senate, and Alec Garnett, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members, thank you so much for taking time this morning to remember probably the most kindest person I've ever met, but especially the most kindest in government. I met Pat probably 8 years ago when I first started working here. He was one of the first liaisons I actually ever met, and I was just trying to figure out my way around here, and he literally just gave me his beaming smile, asked me how I was doing, and asked me about my personal life, who I was, where I came from, showed a true interest in getting to know us as human beings. And I know I'm not the only one, because that's who Pat was. He built relationships not only inside this building, but I guarantee you there's not a single one of you standing who didn't have his help with your constituents. He was an amazing advocate to make sure that anything your constituents needed that he can help with, he figured out how to help. When I got the news, I was heartbroken, to say the least. I was heartbroken because I lost a friend, but then I started thinking about his family and can't even imagine what they have lost. Then I started thinking about his work family, who are with us in the gallery this morning as well. And the stories I've heard from them about his mentorship and his help and his love, not just professionally, but personally, have touched my heart. Pat always reached out, especially after Marla was born, because he was truly interested in people's lives. He wanted to know how she was. She wanted to know how we were. Anytime there was a Brandy Carlisle concert on, he wanted to know if I was watching when he was watching. We shared that love as well. I feel like there's so many people can say, and I know this tribute has a few of our names on it, but to the family, I guarantee you, if all of our names could fit, they would be on it. And I think if we could allow the staff's names to be on it as well, they would be on it too. He was the most loved and adored man, I think, that has ever walked in this building. We're so sorry for your loss.
Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'll start with that. I remember years ago a flood of tears after losing my grandmother, and I realized those tears were for me because I didn't get to be with her anymore. So I'm sorry for your loss. I cannot imagine the hole that it leaves for you, because it leaves a hole for us. The majority leader said something very true. She said that Pat was the first liaison that she met. He was the first liaison all of you met. I mean, for the most part, Pat was one of the first people through your door saying, how can I help you help your constituents? And I remember one of those first conversations, I said, I don't want to bother you. Like, just tell me where this needs to go. And he's like, it goes to me. I'm here to help. I'm here to do what you need to do for the people that are coming to you for help. And that never failed. During all of the problems with unemployment and COVID, it never failed. It never failed that Pat would call me at 7:30 at night and say, I got your email, and I'll get on this first thing in the morning. We've got this taken care of. And it never failed that 2 or 3 or 4 days later, I would get a message back from someone saying, my problem is solved. Thank you very much. Pat was perhaps the most consummate public servant I've ever known. To me, that's why we're here. We're here in service. We're here in the incredibly honorable job of being servants to the people of this state. A whole bunch of public servants are standing here in the gallery because Pat was your colleague and your friend, but he was your example to so many of you of how do you do this job? How do you help people you've never met that have a myriad of problems, some of which, and I do remember this, Pat walked in the office one day, he's like, this is the 5th email I've gotten from this person, and I think we solved their problem. And it turned out, yes, we had, but he cared enough to come back and tell me, and you guys do this every day. That ability to become that example and become that mentor and to give of yourself and share that light of who you are and how you go about your life is the most remarkable gift. I will miss Pat. We all will. The people of Colorado don't know it, but they are going to miss Pat very much. And God willing, we find somebody who has his heart and can do his job as good. You guys are great examples of how we do that. Thank you for all your work. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing him with us.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I got the news that Pat had died, it was as close to a real, actual gut punch as I've ever felt before. And I was sitting with my kids, and people have different parenting styles, but I don't curse in front of my kids. But the words that I said out loud that really made my kids question it with the amount of just complete onset of grief was not appropriate. I got to know Pat much like you've heard the majority leader and the minority leader speak about. I got to know him through this job. But we also worked in the same building when I'm not. We actually worked in the same building all the time, but we worked in this building together, and then we worked in the building where the offices are together. And what started out as being exactly everything the majority leader and the minority leader said, just somebody who was a consummate professional and an extraordinary public servant, became a friend of mine. And somebody that you could talk to not just about, okay, what are we going to do? Again, we did paid family leave and a ton of other stuff where we just tried to figure out, okay, how can we solve these problems? But also just the way he was a human. Like, just how are you doing? Like, what's going on with you? And especially as we got into the pandemic and life got a little bit harder for everybody, he just wanted to know how are you doing as a human. And that helped him form public policy, I'm sure, but that's not why he was doing it. He was doing it because he was a good person. He was a good man. And I'll tell you, like, and I said this before, but I'm going to say it again because his family members weren't here. I left him a voicemail a few weeks ago, and he didn't call me back. And he had never not called me back before. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. But it was strange. And like your first thought is like, wow, suddenly Pat's gotten rude all of a sudden. Well, that obviously wasn't the case. I was like, that's strange. Well, oh, no, you're too good for me now. It turns out he was in the hospital, and that's a pretty fair reason. But that's the kind of person who he was. He would always call you back, whether you're calling about legislation, rulemaking, public policy, what's going on in life. And again, you all have stickers on your desks, and you'll see them throughout the halls today that say, "Be like Pat." What he proved to all of us is that you can do these jobs. You can do the jobs we do. You can do the jobs that folks on the other side of the glass can do. You can do the jobs of the folks who are up in the gallery can do. You can do them with kindness and integrity and responsibility. It is possible. It's not like he had a low-stress job. He had a very, very high-stress job. And you'll hear from a lot of folks throughout the day-to-day, both from the well here, but also just talking to each other. He showed you can do high-stress jobs in this building, and you can do them with kindness and grace and compassion in a way that makes people feel better about the fact that they're here. And that's why we've got the stickers around, and that's something that I would love everybody to think about today is like, that is possible if we put the effort into being the kind of person that Pat was. And so that's the thing I would ask. Members of Pat's family are here today, and I'd like to recognize them. Over here on the side of the gallery, we've got Chris Letting, his wife, Leanne, his daughter, Jade, his daughter, Ann Doherty, his sister, Mike Doherty, his brother-in-law, and Dennis Wignick, and I probably got that wrong, his cousin, are here with us today. And it would be great if we could, sorry? Oh, and never mind, Representative Herod, were you talking? Sure. And with that, Representative Herod.
Thank you.
Representative Herod.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Gray. So many of you all probably know that I started in this building when I was like 20-something. I was like an intern, an aide, super young, did the Ritter administration. But having Pat as my friend through all of that was something that I was so blessed to have. Pat was also, and his family, also my constituents. And one thing that folks don't know about Pat, probably in this building, was that he was also really into Denver politics. kind of loved the rough and tumble of what happened at the city level in Denver. He always wanted to know if I knew so-and-so or knew so-and-so's history or just some little tidbit about the area or about House District 8. And I just thought that that was so refreshing. As the majority leader mentioned, it really was about getting to know people as people, what they were interested in, and how he could help. But I think Pat stands out to me most with the work that he did through this pandemic. You all remember, we had no idea what we were walking into. We had no idea of who was coming back or what our constituents would need from us in service. And yes, please do sit down, you're fine. But when the unemployment claims started to come in, when people started writing letters about not being able to feed their families or make their payments, I think a lot of us still didn't quite know what to do and what our roles were as elected officials. Pat stepped in with, I'm sure, his team to make sure that every single one of our constituents were responded to. He took every single case as the emergency that it was because he cared about the people behind the emails. I don't know if he slept. I don't know if he was able to spend much time with you all through that, but I know that he responded to every request. I still have constituents right now stop me at the grocery store and say thank you for helping with my unemployment claim, when really it was a forward to Pat. And Pat got it done. So Pat quickly became all of our aides' best friends too. He didn't just care about us with the fancy titles. He cared about every single person in this building, everyone who was working for the people of Colorado. He cared about everyone. He had a huge heart. And so I just want to say thank you, Pat, for getting so many of us through this. Thank you to his team. Thank you to his family for allowing us to have him. He will be in our hearts. He is now a part of this building that he loves so much. And Denver would not be Denver without him. So thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, as we all know, every department has a liaison, but I think depending on the bills that we do or the committees we serve on, you could go an entire session or more and never intersect with the liaison for a particular department. But Pat and Celia Lee were an exception to that for the reasons that have been stated. Even in a good year, we all have constituents who are going to be between jobs and are going to need help with unemployment. And I'm sure I met Pat my first year here, which was 17, for that reason. Even in a good year, that's going to happen, and I'm sure it happened with all of us. But then we have had some not so good years where we've all gotten the emails from people, and every single one of those, as Rip Herod said, was an emergency. And I'm hard-pressed to think of any circumstances where any department and its core team would find themselves thrown into such a grave situation almost overnight and tasked with so much additional work almost overnight. And then all of the extra relief programs that, thank God, the federal government stood up also had to start flowing. And that was great because there was more help, but there were also more questions and complexities. As far as hitting forward to Pat, I don't even know how many hundreds of times I've done that over the years, or that we all have. So I'm very grateful for that and for the sacrifice that the family members made in having less of Pat, because Pat was giving so much of himself to this place and the state. But I think what hit me even harder was, you know, I think we all spent some time reading the remembrances of Pat that were shared on Facebook and in other places. And I don't know if I've ever seen such an outpouring for anyone I've ever known in any way in life that compares. I knew that I had worked with somebody who was somehow always managed to be upbeat even when things were hard, and was always responsive and always trying to help. And then I read some of what was shared, and I came to appreciate how much I didn't know. The deep history in politics, that decades-long relationships with, in some cases, people I also happen to know, and I just didn't know that they knew each other. We should all be so lucky and intentional as to live our lives so as to be remembered that way when our time comes. And, you know, all of that sort of brought back to me this morning some words about life and loss that first hit me many years ago and that stuck, and I thought I would share them here. This is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Pat succeeded.
Madam Speaker Pro Tem Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I too worked with Pat on constituent matters, but that's not really what stood out for me. I met Pat probably in 2008. I was working at DPA, and one of my best friends was also one of Pat's best friend, former Fire Chief Rich Gonzalez. And so I got to hear all about the baseball stories and all of those kinds of things that, you know, just made him real. And his caring and concern for people was different because it was so genuine. I recall Rich passed away a couple of years ago, and his last 6 months when he was more ill, every time Pat saw me, he stopped to find out how he was doing. He was very, very concerned, and Rich ended up moving to New Jersey, and Pat would call him until he wasn't able to take calls anymore. And even after he passed, and there was a service here, I know he reached out to his wife, to Rich's wife, and when I saw the things he would do for people, for his friends, people he knew, and the lengths he would go, he was just very different. And I think I've been here also since 2017, but I think this is one of the first times I recall we've done this kind of tribute to a lobbyist, basically. And I think that's really interesting because they're part of our team here at the legislature. And I know the people here from Department of Labor, and I saw Shar Hovland come in and sit down because I know what a close-knit family that is. And I also, when I spoke to Christine earlier, and she reminded me that we had met in leadership training many, many years ago. And so it's such a small world, but Pat had a way of making everyone feel important and feel connected. And it's a tremendous loss for us, but it's such a huge loss for the family. And, you know, please accept mine and everyone's here condolences. Thank you.
Representative Judah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So my colleagues that had followed are all the seasoned and wise colleagues, but I'm one of the newbies, and this is my first term. So I wanted to speak to that. Last year, during my first year, Patrick worked on the Office of New Americans with me to pass a bill that would welcome the newest people who wanted to call Colorado home. And when he came up in our Zoom meeting, my chief of staff, Jessica, was so excited, and she quickly told me why, and I quickly realized how excited I should be and how honored I should be that he was on this bill with us. And there was one meeting where I came in and I was a little frustrated, and within 5 minutes he had me laughing and calmed me down and focused, and I was excited again. So I want, you know, someone before me, I think you said, Mr. Minority Leader, was the people of Colorado, I don't think will understand the impact of this loss. And I don't know if the 2,000 Avlans that now call Colorado home will know that either, or hopefully the millions of our newest neighbors in the years to come. But I want the family to know that that will be one of his lasting legacies. So today, and I hope everyone shares this, that I will wear this sticker as a badge of honor today to definitely honor him. And I will also navigate this grief with the promise of heaven. So thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem, and thanks to all the members for their attention today and for bringing this tribute. I can't remember when I met Pat because he went to high school with my dad, and so they went way back. And in every meeting I ever had with Pat, he would always remind whoever we were on the call with, I went to high school with Alec's dad, and I'm so proud of Alec. And in a way, there was moments where I'm like, Pat, you don't have to say, you don't have to say that. But he said it every time, and he said it with love, and he said it with kindness. And when I look up and I see everyone, all the liaisons up there, when I look at all of you, when I look at all the staff, we come to this building to help create change in our communities. We come here with a purpose. Very few of us, if any of us, will change the institution. The institution changes us. Pat not only made change in Colorado and our community, but he changed this institution. And we're wearing stickers to be like Pat, to do a better job of changing this institution. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so happy and glad that I got to know Pat the way that I did, and the way that he taught me to just go about this job the best that we can with a smile on our face, to try to create the best change we could for the communities that we serve, but also to treat the people in this building with the utmost respect to try to change this institution. So thank you for the tribute. Thanks to everyone's attention. And Pat will always be in my heart and will always guide me in my interactions with people, especially inside this building.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I'd ask for a brief recess so members can greet the family if they'd like.
The House will be in a brief recess. House will come back to order. See no further announcements or introductions. The next order of business is third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 14.
Senate Bill 14 by Senator Moreno, also Representatives McKean and McLaughlin, concerning the administration of the Colorado Youth Advisory Council.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Bill 14 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 14 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Look at that, only 2 people on the screen. Representative Molka, I need you to you gotta be a better whip, dude. I'm just joking. All right. Please close machine. That is a $5 fine, Representative Catlin. With 55 aye votes, 6 no votes, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 14 is approved. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1159.
House Bill 1159 by Representative Cutter, also Senator Priola, concerning waste diversion and in connection therewith, creating the Circular Economy Development Center in the Department of Public Health and Environment, establishing the cost of operating the center as a permissible use of money from the Front Range Waste Diversion Cash Fund and the Recycling Resource Economic Opportunity Fund, and extending and removing certain repeal dates associated with the existing statutory waste diversion efforts.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1159 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1159 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close machine. With 41 aye votes, 20 no votes, and 4 excused, House Bill 1159 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1209.
House Bill 1209 by Representatives Bradfield and Young, also Senator Woodward, concerning the continuation of the Strategic Action Plan Group on Aging and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendation contained in the 2021 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies to sunset the Strategic Action Planning Group on Aging.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1209 on third reading, final passage.
See no further discussion on House Bill 1209. The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1209. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Haynes votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 4 excused, House Bill 1209 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over House Bill 1231 until tomorrow, March 10th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1231 will be laid over one day. Mr. Shebel, please read the Title II, Senate Bill 52.
Senate Bill 52 by Senators Jaquez, Lewis, and Smallwood, also Representatives Mullica and Bradfield, concerning aligning medical assistance income eligibility requirements with federal law.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Bill 52 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 52 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 8 no votes, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 52 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the Title II, Senate Bill 102.
Senate Bill 102 by Senator Kirkmeyer, also Representative Young, concerning increasing transparency concerning programs for youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are in out-of-home placements.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Bill 102 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 102 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. You can also have this from your home. It's online. Please close the machine. With 60 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 102 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. That brings us to the end of today's calendar. Announcements and introductions. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Business Affairs and Labor will start at 10:30 in room 112. 10:30 for Business Affairs and Labor.
Any other announcements or introductions? Representative Luck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on behalf of the Republican caucus, especially the ag rural legislators, today is National Meatball Day. And so there are some meatballs in room 212 for all of you to partake in to help us celebrate National Meatball Day.
Representative Callan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
An honor to serve with you too, Representative Callan.
Thank you very much. So she asked me if I would come up and be the representative meatball for that deal, so here I am. I want you to know you're all welcome. These are the kind of things that we do out in the country, is invite our neighbors and friends to come over and eat with us. So, if you find yourself hungry, Representative Luck has put out quite a spread. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Representative Luck and Representative Catlin. See Representative A. Valdez.
All right, members of Energy and Environment, we'll meet 15 minutes after adjournment LSBA. See you there. 20 after.
I have a quick announcement. Representative Judah will replace Representative Woodrow on Judiciary for today only. Representative Mobley will replace Representative Froelich on Transportation and Local Government for today only. And Representative Bacon will replace Representative Michelson Janae on Education for today only. Further announcements and introductions. Seeing none, Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.